Immediately the mention of women in sports, we are already stigmatized and culturally positioned to be homemakers, wives, moms only. Considering what strength we as women epitomize, nothing for us is a challenge. The barriers we face are so vast that one often wonders, will society ever accept us? Are we now equally counted in different careers? Sport has been majority male dominated, and with that being said, barriers we face are such as discrimination in leadership, positions, and decision making within higher authority. Some women prefer the male dominance rather than women being given the opportunity to raise issues in sports. Transformation as an African woman not only lacks support from decision makers, but the economy has not given the opportunity for the woman who comes from a disadvantaged background. Sexual harassment not only demoralizes the performance of the woman, it mentally does enough damage for her not to want to participate. Example, women who are grouped according to so-called female sports codes, nifumanisa ba, if you are a female in soccer or rugby, there are certain innuendos and situations where you can participate and all of that. So okay, that is one of the biggest issues we have along sexual harassment. And another thing, you find that a lot of the times if you wanting to prove yourself in terms of performance, manthethe ke kumna nge-swimming, as women, we do face a lot of pressure because even with our dress code, unfortunately, there are no other designs when it comes to swimming costumes. Ufuneke uvezile loo nto nayo. And as a black woman, ingakumbi ke mna as a married woman, for me, it is a big no-no because zonke ezaa zinto bekuthiwa mandimele uba ndiyazihlonipha emzini andikwazi uzifihla because of the sports I'm in. So that is one of the things that you find that we will attract a lot of sexual harassment because it is also a male-dominated sports as well. So you find that izinto ezininzi siyachaneka, siyabethakala when it comes to the way we have to represent ourselves within the sport. Then ke ngoku, in lack of support, we have got a lack of support from the support groups within the sporting fraternity. Women find themselves having to stand up for themselves and having to fight in every single battle. If it's decision making, we are not counted, but it has to be a solution that men have to agree with, that it works with them, not with us as women. Another thing, transgender. Inequality in sporting codes where the physical structure of a woman is questioned more than it is with males. Males are given the opportunity to participate in the female sporting codes without being questioned, gender yabo. And that has become it's an everyday thing in our society, more especially in sports like soccer, rugby, and even swimming and all the other sports like netball, where my physicality already in one's mind, okanye umntu who is in charge with adjudication, I cannot perform because the physicality yami iyandibetha. So clearly my hormones are that of the male hormone. So that becomes one of the bigger issues in the sporting fraternity for women. And then ke ngoku, one of the last objections, because I didn't want to go deep into the barriers because the next group will be basically outlining a lot of the things that I have spoken about. So gender equality in sports coaching, I know this has become such a problem because kwa into ye coaching amongst women is such a far-fetched thing where we cannot even consider ourselves as coaching. And we tend to forget that teaching starts from home and the biggest teachers, sithi singomama. So when it comes to the sporting fraternity, ufumanisa ba already sesijajwa because singomama. And men have this idea that sport is only for them. So in that situation, it is lack of education and training to identify potential sports coaches. So if that were to happen and we get into more schools, start introducing the sport, start introducing not just becoming a participant of the sport, but becoming the teacher as well. So that was the solution for that. But one of the other solutions, like into your objections, zethu, as a woman, if we had to introduce sports not just on a provincial level, but when we introduce Quizgolo, we introduce it as mass participation. So with that being said, we not only focus on the one sporting code ezizazwayo, regardless of its disadvantage, ne background, zikho zonke codes, and we would like Nati, like in Olympics, to have as many more participants and not just a small number and a group of certain codes participating. So if we can start the conversation around sports, being active as umeme bechiling ate physical education, we need to start introducing things like physical education in water, in rugby, in soccer, every sporting code. Then once we start the conversation, we can then see expand provincially into your participation in sports, especially for women. And nalantu ba girls in schools, okanye women have to partake in cultural activities. We are not meant to just be dancers and singers, because that too, heightenishe kwa ile nto irongo with sexual harassment. So if we can introduce things like sport and girls taking part, ingatoba. In terms of leadership positions, I think this one has been a well-spoken topic in many codes in sports. If we can sort of balance it to that 60-40, because I feel like when there is a power within women, whatever decisions men make, izawukwazi uthetheleleka, because ke ngoku it's not going to be based on the one thing, but ingaske nakuloo nto as women we support each other. Singabi laa nto uba sizawusupport uba ewe sizawuvotela and then we change the minds, because that happens a lot. So if we're gonna do leadership positions, we do it openly and honestly so that everyone can be equalized. And then the last thing, in terms of support for women in sport, there's a lot of lacking because us as women, we take a lot of things emotionally, we are not well, and because izinto ezininzi zasekhayeni zihlala emagxeni ethu, things like having on-call doctors, like psychologists, who are constantly monthly doing routines for women just to make sure that all is well, so that even their participation and being part of the sporting fraternity, so if we can have that support, that would be good as well. There's one other thing, but I think I've forgotten it, but it was that psychology, on-call doctors for the technical teams. Oh, and the selection of participants. If I go back to the sexual harassment, yes. Ingaske, if you're gonna have female participants, have a technical team, yeah, females, that will deal with females. Biokinetist, and you've got your sports psychologist. If you're gonna have female participants, you have the female part. If you're gonna have male participants, kubeko ne male dominance, kwi doctors and all of that. Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yona. I reckon that you have been representing the group. So I hope that you have covered everything that the group discussed. With your barriers, you have mentioned discrimination on leadership, transformation, sexual harassment, cultural issues, lack of support, decision-making not considered, gender equality, sport coaching, and also leadership positions, and then also technical support. Well done. We will now move to Alfred Nzo to give them their inputs. These, just quickly mention them, and then try to start with those that have not been mentioned, if you were on the same topic. Thank you.
Okay. Manbuli, sir. I'm Nandi Padlo Longwana from Alfred Dunzo. We're dealing with the barriers do women face when trying to participate in sport and recreation. Firstly, by being a woman, especially in rural areas, beliefs and cultures, I can say the first barrier is that of being a woman, especially if you are coming from the rural areas. We have the barrier of the beliefs, culture, values, and discrimination. We also have a serious challenge of poverty, racism, stereotypes, lack of infrastructure, lack of capacitation in women, financial compensation on women as compared to males, and the self-esteem. When dealing with infrastructure and facilities, there is a limitation to participation due to disabilities. Lack of appropriate facilities for women with disabilities. Inaccessible facilities, venues, and equipment. Unwelcoming attitude among other sport participants and staff. Facilities must be user-friendly and accessible, especially for women with disabilities. Coming to safety, as women, we also have a problem of safety in this way. Women are not safe inside and outside the sport facilities because of gender and sexual harassment in gender-based violence happening inside those facilities. We also mentioned the challenge or the barrier concerning the capacitation of women with necessary skills, which will enable them to participate and officiate, administering and coaching. That will close leadership gap and lack of participation. We also have the barrier of discrimination, whereby women and women with disabilities are discriminated by the other women. The background also affects, that is, the women from urban areas versus the women from rural areas. Lack of confidence due to poverty and affordability. Lack of leisure time than men. And then we go to the stereotypes. Women participate in sport. They are being associated with misconceptions like LGBTQI+A. Cultural beliefs. Our tradition that girls and women do not play sports. In some regions, it is believed that women should not show off their bodies. As a result, it deprives their sport participation and interest. The days of worship is also a barrier to women because women are compelled not to participate in sport. Hence, it often happens on or during their weekends. Cultural and religious diversity prohibits women participation. On financial resources. Lack of financial resources to provide adequate and suitable transport for women, children, elders, and disabilities is the challenge. Lack of sponsors and donors for women in sport. Lack of provision of adequate material and equipment for women in sport. There's also a challenge of men. Men are given more incentives than women, whether it's due to donors, due to sponsors, due to salaries. Lack of responsibility among the leaders that are elected to lead in their sport codes. As Alfred Inzo, we also had these recommendations that there must be a formation of leagues, formation of strong partnership with all sport formations, e.g. SAFA, cricket SA, etc. The formation of structure from grassroots level and linked to upper structures. I thank you.
And inside discrimination, interests, financial resources, and also lack of infrastructure. That has been noted. Now we will quickly go through to BCM. The BCM must give us feedback on their topic.
Hi, ndinguphumza Dani, ndizomela iBuffalo City. Umbuzo wethu busithi what difficulties are experienced by elite women athletes. Iqala pha, being a woman is a challenge on its own. We don't have confident enough. We don't trust each other. We always want men to lead us in everything. Mindset yethu, mindset elanduka esenza singaziboni thina singabantu abangomama ncakasane singakwazi ukwenza izinto kungaxambulukanga umuntu ongutata. So sifuna into yokuba abantu abangomama bancedisane bangiyeke lento yosoloko uhleli nje kuza umuntu ongumama uzawuthenga umbusi zabalala into kuthiwa iPhD uzawuthi ngokumbonayo uzizwa that angaba nguye la president we sport council uqomba uyakwenza nantoni na ezakwenza uzizo atyhafe angakwazi ukuba ngula president we sport council uyawuchoose umuntu ongutata ngaphezulu komuntu ongumama. So sithi mayiphele loo nto leyo kubantu abangomama masisebenzisaneni sibe mntumnye. Silanduke ke siye pha kwi-lack of sponsorship. Kwi-lack of sponsorship thina siyiBuffalo City City. We're not recognized as abantu abangomama ngokupheleleleyo. Sifuna urecognizwa kwi-sport, iyeke le nto isport ibe sisabantu abangootata. Mayibe nathi masibe yinxalenye, masithathwe serious apha kwi-sport. Sithi kwi-salary zethu, ubukhe wayithetha umphathiswa pha kusasa namhlanje wathi ii-salary zethu wenza umzekelo ngebanyana wathi salaries azilingani. Sithi ke ngoku mayiphele loo nto leyo. Ubana ngaba bebenika u-50% nathi masinika u-50% we-salaries. Uyeke laa nto izawuba ngu-22:1. Mayibe ilantuka i-ratio mayilingane. Siye kwinto yoba i-women women in rugby azikho professional. Uba kutheni i-rugby ngenazi professionals lathi siyazi sicela okokuba ke masithi xa siphuma apha namhlanje iye zibe professional nayo ke siyeke le nto yokuba zona zizoba professional also zingabhatalwa. Siye kwinto ye-transformation of being elected as an athlete. I-transformation ke thina sithi pha kwi-female dominant sport, there's a lot of ilanduka ukungalinganwa okanye ungabikho ko-transformation. We are saying that makhe umzekelo siqala apha phambi kwethu kukho umuntu ongutata ozofota kube kukho mama bakufota bona. Sicela iqale pha makuthi xa kwenza into zesport zabantu abangomama kusebenzise sihlale sibe ngomama senze into zethu ungabi singaphathelwa abantu basebuhlanti kukho abantu begoqo bakwazi ukwenza lento ibele balotata uyayenza. Sicela okokuba ubana ngaba basithi kwi-netball, okay, masithi kwi-rugby okanye soccer, male dominant sport, kubekho esa sport sabantu abangosisi, yokubekho la rugby okanye la soccer yabantu abangosisi. Uyawufika phasi coach coach ngabantu abangotata babe bekhona abantu abangomama bekumele okokuba i-heads zo-coach kweza sport zidominatewa ngabantu abangotata sithi bantu abangomama ze abe khona ke lo mlumiswano okanye loo nto yomntu ongutata ozawubonisa pha napha but oyena ofuneke khona ngumntu ongumama. Siye kuphathwa ngabantu abangotata kwinto yabantu abangomama. Sigqithe ke sithi umzekelo wethu ke uthi recently there was i-World Cup pha bekudlalwa sibonisa i-transformation bingu 4-3 kula 4-3 ubukhona pha bekuthi xa kutshintshwa umntu uthatha umuntu omnyama ukhupha umuntu omnyama uphinde ufake umuntu omnyama awukhuphi umuntu omnyama uphinde uthatha umuntu omhlophe umfake kuzawuthi ngoku kubonwayo that nankuya umuntu omnyama akanalantuka istamina sakhe siphelile okanye akasadlali ngela hlobo ebedlala ngalo ngela xesha bekuqala ilantuka imatch ahlaliswe kuba lokhu kufuneka ngokukhutshwe umuntu omhlophe kuthatha umuntu omhlophe pha akhutshwe kwela ndawo yalantu umhlophe kanti uba bekuthiwa ngoku kubonwayo nanku uphumzadana umnyama uphelelwe ngoku akasadlale la hlobo ebedlala ngalo kukhutshwe yena kusibone nankuya uFan Hastien kuthatha uFan Hastien afake kulaa ndawo kaphumzadana omnyama. So sicela i-transformation elolo hlobo ke kuphele ezazinto zilanduzo olwabukulwana. Siye ke ngokwi-level of education. I-level of education yethu ndawuthetha ngeBuffalo City. IBuffalo City isikakhulu i-areas zayo i-rural areas ne u-90% or 70% wabo usuka ezilalini. Uthatha lamntana usuka ezilalini uzomdibanisa nosuka edolophini uzomdibanisa osuka kwi-urban areas nakwi-township uzisa apha kuzawufuneka kukhunyishiwe apha kuthethwe English. Iyaqala ibhariya yokuqala ya-communication. Lamntana uza koyika uthetha isiXhosa sakowabo uza koyika okanye akazoparticipate fully simply because abantwana balapha bathetha English. Bethetha English nje yena mhlamba uqhela ufundiswa abhenci. Akayazi kakuhle lento ifundiswa lelantu as much as eyazi English but uzaba nalanto oyoyikayo. So sinesicelo sokuba noko mabathathwe abantwana bethu uba uyabona ba nasi sakhono lo mntana angakwazi udlala le rugby okanye lo mntana angakwazi udlala le soccer makubekho ii-seminars ezibakhona kubekho ii-workshop ezibakhona so that abantwana batreyinwe ukuba mabakwazi ulantuka udibana with abantwana basedolophini. Kubekho laa nto kuthiwa yi-environment and background. I-environment and background sithe ke xa sithetha thina siyiBuffalo City sathi kukho ii-players eziyi-3 from different backgrounds ezisuka kwi-environment ezahlukeneyo. Si-expecta ke zi-expectiwe eza players that mazidlale mazenze research mhlawumbi kuthiwa anikwe itask yoba that mabahambe bayozitreyina that bangakwazi ushuta noba zizinto bangakwazi ushuta banikwe kuthiwe mabashute ngayi-100 umzekelo. Laa mntana usuke ezilalini umama wakhe akanayo i-resources, akanazo i-resources zathi laa mntana makakwazi okwenza laa training, okwakutreyina okwakushuta ezaa nto ziyi-100. Lo walapha edolophini okanye lo walapha umama wakhe mhlambi umthengele ilantuka laa pole yoba makapractisele kuyo, lo akanayo. Uzawutreyina kwilantuka emithini. Kuzawuthi ke ngoku xa kufuneka bezile bezodemonstrate okushuta kwabo okwayi-100 angakwazi sisi kakuhle lo wasezilalini, simply because i-environment asuka kuyo ayikho right. Siphinde kuyadlalwa, amabala asezilalini awafani nawasedolophini. So sifuna i-access to i-facility right, where uzawuthi before amabala asezilalini aza kwenziwa abe nawo abe right, afane namabala la wasedolophini. Where uqala kwanto yoba sifuna amabala apho uzawukwazi uba ndizazi that mna ndingumntu ongumama ndisafe to ukudlala kweli bala, i-security ikhona. Sifumana amabala we uzawuthi before lo mntu uzawube elapha ejongile yonke le nto siyenza, uzawufuneka eqaliwe eskriniwe ajongwe okokuba ukulungelo lokuba angaza azolanuka mna ndingumntu ongumama. Uzawuskrinwa that akazange wareyipha, akazange wathi no coach bethu sicela benziwe loo nto leyo uba ibe ngoocoach esinethemba ngakubo, esizawubazi uba that into yabo ithini. Siye kwi-disability, siya kwi-disability. Kwi-disability yethu thina eziBuffalo City sithe abantu be-disability bathathwa benziwe itrophy. Abathathelwa ngqalelo o abathathelwa serious, babakhona nje bafuneka bekhona ingabantu be-disability. Uyawubona kwa kwii-facilities zabo, ii-facilities zabo ayizo-facilities ezi-right bekumele babenza zona, babadlalela kuzo. Ukhona ke ugxa wam ozawuzo uzawufika si-explainele uba kutheni sithi ezi facilities zii-facilities ezingekho right. Aba bantu bathathwa benziwe itrophy because akho nto bayenzayo. Abadlali bakhona nje uba mababe khona. Ibe baphinde siyabaleyibelisha kwathina singabantu. Ibenza ke ngoloo nto leyo badlale bengekho freely bathi bafuneka bedlalile, because banalaa nto yoba ekugqibeleni noba ndidlalile abandithathi serious aba bantu ndidlala phambi kwabo, naba bantu ndidlala nabo bangekho disabled. Siye kwinto ye-dress code. Sithi sicela uba i-dress code yethu irevisithwe, because i-dress code yethu mzakwenza umzekelo nge-netball sidlala with ilantuka iziketi ezilantukileyo ezifutshane ezenza uba that noko masibonakale ubunqunu bethu.
I think what we are going to need is the presenters that we're presenting in the groups. Is it possible that after their sessions, after we finish, they bring us all those papers so that we could be able to collect all this information and put it together.
Okay. Siya kulando ye sigqithe apho siya sexual harassment. Siya ku sexual harassment sithi singabantu abangomama. Sithi singabantu abangomama soyisiwe into yoba funeka uthi uze ndinyulwe okanye ndikwazi ukuba kwiposition endikuyo funeka ndiqale ndihambe ndibheke bucala nomuntu ongutata. Sifuna okokuba sinyulwe simply because niyazibona ubona capabilities kum ubona ba that ndingakwazi ukuyimela iposition le ndizabe ndinikiwe ndizakwazi umelana nezinto ezabe zinikwe ziziswe kum. Notoba uzawuthatha uphumzadani umfake phansi simply because uzawukwazi umanager uzawukwazi uzamthatha uphumzadani umbeke phaya uthi awugqiba uthumele noba ngumuntu ongutata adibane nophumza simply because uphumza uzomane umsimthumela umuntu uthi iya kulaa mntu wakho kuba lokhu usixakile ngoku. Sifuna umuntu ozawuthetha free ozawumela abantu abangomama freely. Sifuna umuntu ozawukwazi ukuba ingxaki zethu zoba ngabantu abangomama zikwazeke ukuba zibonakale. Ugxa wami uzawusondela. Okay, Nkosi.
Mandibulise emva kwemini. Igama lam ndinguNomvuyo Velem. Ndi-educator eVukuhambe Special School. Ndi-coordinator ye-Eastern Cape ye-wheelchair tennis. Right now? Okay. Bendifuna ucacisa kakuhle kulaa ndawo ye-disabilities. Eyokubana i-women's discriminate njani abakwi-disabilities. Indawo yokuqala xa umntana obhinqileyo electiwe eba ezawudlalela i-SA team or nationally kuqala kujongwe the actual disability anayo okokuba izawusokolisa kangakanani na izawunida abantu abangaphi na for ukumncedisa lo mntu. Okwesibini ezinye zezinto esisokola ngazo kwi-special schools. For instance, in my school, sina 3 players ezidlala nationally and internationally kwi-basketball. But ukubangabana ungaya esikolweni sam ngoku, ufike undibuze uba liphi na ibala le-basketball, uzawufika ubone into enje entushuntushu, apho khona abantwana batreyinwa khona. Kodwa, we are proud that bayadlala and bade bawudlala nationally. Ndithetha into yangoku ke mna ke. And i-wheelchair tennis okokwayo idlala nationally yona. Hayi ke asinayo tu ke into ekuthiwa yi-tennis court. Andikayi ke mphathiswa kwinto ethi le court lo mntana adlala kuyo funeka ubana ibe wheelchair friendly. Disathi nje okwe tennis court ayikho, but we manage into bana abantwana bakwazi udlala up to national level. singanqwenela kakhulu ke okokubana i-special schools zijongwe, and njengoba nje abantu aba-disabled bejongelwa phansi, but izinto abazenzayo, they are so wonderful. And thina we are proud thina abantu basebenza ngabo okokubana bengabantu abakwazi uziphuhlisa ngolaa hlobo. And xa umntana eyodlala o-disabled, kufuneka kuqala kujongwe izinto azawuncediswa ngazo lo mntana. Izinto, for instance, umntana ohleli kwi-wheelchair ahamba ngayo, asiyo le adlala ngayo. Kufuneka ukubana abe ne-wheelchair yokudlala, of which i-expensive, izikolo zethu azikwazi ukusithengela i-wheelchairs. Enkosi.
Sorry that I said you are Joe Gabi. That was part of PCM. I think the emphasis was on women or girls with disabilities. I am going to ask you, because all the following people to mix language or ensure that we speak English. Remember that we are a cosmopolitan province. There might be other people in other districts who might not understand when we speak mostly our home language. Hope that you understand. So now we are going to give to Joe Gabi, to Chrisani, for Chrisani to give us a feedback on the session with difficulties that are experienced by elite women athletes. I always like to say women and girls. A woman is me, at least now I'm a woman. And remember that we're talking about girls and women. And I think we should emphasize on that, because once we talk about women, we're gonna try to focus more on elite and forget that this starts young. So we build them whilst they are still young. So let's try to orientate ourselves and also try to always talk about girls and women. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Joyce Tafeni from Krisani District. I'm here to represent our group. Our topic is about difficulties experienced by elite women athletes. Madam, most of our points, they have already been addressed. On our side, we have mentioned discrimination based on color, race, meaning that some women in sports, they are regarded as whites or colored, they can play certain sports, or a certain sport is for black people only. Coming to culture and religion, we have made an example of a child who is still at school, but he's got a calling, ukutwasa, ancestral calling. That child has been prohibited to play, to participate in sport. We've also touched the sexual orientation, whereby a certain sport is regarded as it can be played by maybe gays or lesbian. If maybe you are a lesbian, you cannot play a certain sport, or you can play this sport. Second point is the abuse of power by authorities. For example, if you want to be part of a certain league, you must do sexual favors or certain favors to your coach or to the manager of that club. Poor structure and involvement of women in decision-making. Women, they are not involved in decision-making. Most of the time, it's only men that think they can make decision for us, even though we are also part of that sport. Inadequate media coverage or exposure. We made an example about the Banyana Banyana playing for a certain season. You'll find that the match has been televised for a short period. Some matches are not being televised, but if the Bafana Bafana is playing, all their matches, they are being televised. Lack of women's sport promotion and empowerment. We've noted that it is still a difficulty that is experienced by women. They are not empowered enough to participate in sport compared to male. Lack of support, commitment, and poor attendance from communities and other stakeholders. If you notice, when, for example, the Border Bulldogs are playing at Absa Stadium, the stadium will be packed because those players are men. But if it's Border Women's Rugby that is playing there, you'll find few spectators watching those women. That is also resulting for women to drop their confidence and their self-esteem. Biological and physical constraints affecting performance of women in sport. We have made an example about a girl child that is in menstruation periods. That girl menstruates during the games, and maybe it's trial time. They have to be selected maybe to play in the province. You lose your confidence once you start to be in periods. That makes you not to be selected. Our last point is the treatment that women receive. A treatment that women receive in the community at large, and the lack of support from the stakeholders. Yes, that will be it. Thank you.
I got my high school education there in that area, in the girls' school called Mount Arthur. So I always associate myself with that district. Just to, again, I remember that the virtual thing is still new. All these reports need to be typed and be emailed to Nokolo later as soon as possible so that he can put together one report. And now, Jokan, I have been always making a mistake about you. So now it's your turn to come and present the section that says identify interventions that could improve participation of women specifically in sport and recreation. Eradicate gender-based violence in and through sport. Eliminate gender stereotypes in the media coverage of sport. Over to you, Joker.
Good day, everyone. I go by the name of Aya Kangendani, originally from Stakesbridge, from SAPS. Our topic is identify intervention that could improve participation of women, specifically in sport and recreation. Eradicate GBV in and through sport. Eliminate gender-based stereotypes through media. Firstly, what we did is to break down our topic, which is we defined what is gender-based violence and also what is stereotype, so that it can register to people's mind what we actually talking about. Definition of gender-based violence is any act of gender-based violence that result in or likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or suffering of a woman. This includes threats of violence, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or privately. Stereotype is a mistaken idea of belief many people have about thing or group that is based upon how they look on the outside and which may be untrue or partly true. We as the Jokabi youth, we saw this in a story of Casper Singema. Inequality, body shaming, labeling, doesn't have enough voice to express herself. Castor loses tribunal appeal to overturn 2019 case ruling, excluding female athletes and in angering out our health solely because of our natural ability, puts world athletes on the wrong side of the history. The challenges that we face in the field as women, labeled as no strength to lead the key position. For example, being the chairperson in the management. As it was said before, that for you as a woman to be part of the management, sometimes you have to sleep your way through. Participation in different codes. For example, women are limited in sporting codes. For example, professional rugby, cricket, golf, and even boxing, because it is considered as a male sport. Sexual harassment, what we're facing in the field. We take an example of a coach, which is a male, using his powers to take an advantage on young women, so that she can have a position within the team, or she can go to another level when it comes to sport. Being less fortunate when it comes to the sponsorships, they are not likely advertised for women through media. Most of the sport codes that women participate in are partly broadcasted on television. Then it becomes even worse when it comes to radio station. Even women tournaments are slightly advertised. Taking, for example, Netball World Cup, which will take part in 2023. The preparations are not yet broadcasted to show the commitment of the management compared to the Soccer World Cup in 2010. The other thing that we are facing is labeling, which is, we usually call it body shaming. For example, Castor, as we say that our story, it's based on Castor because she's the most well-known athlete. It all started in a race when she stood next to a feminine woman. And then we move to the eradication of challenges we face as women in sport, which bring us to the intervention. What we should do is we should report to the structures. When we're talking about structures, we are talking about the management, whether in the local team, the person that you'll feel comfortable to talk to, that you are facing this kind of problem, which is preventing you to participate in sport. Inequality when it comes to the position in the management, which is, I have said it before, that you have to sleep your way through the position instead of bringing equality among females and males. The world should accept our natural ability. Just because my body is built like a male body, that doesn't make me enough of a female, which is I can't participate in netball or I can't run with other girls just because my physique looks like a man. And then broadcasting. They should broadcast women's sport more often in TV and also radio station. For example, in a radio station, you will never find them presenting netball matches. It's all about soccer each and every weekend. Education. They should educate women, more especially young women, about things that we as women we are discriminated in and how they should handle it and how they should move forward. I thank you.
Very much, Joe Kabi. We shall quickly move then to OR Tambo.
Hi everyone, I'm Violet Umhlati representing OR Tambo region. Our topic is intervention that could improvement of participation of women specifically in sport and recreation. Mass media coverage in sport must be there. Introduction of codes in schools, e.g. teachers must introduce sport to all learners, not specifically for boys. Compulsory physical education to be a competitive subject or sport. Remove stigma in all codes. Awareness campaign and outreach programs to be promoted. Participate more girls, female both in schools and out of schools in all sporting codes. To build peer support programs. Participate more women in male-dominated sport codes and be given leadership position and be promoted and motivated. Encourage parents' involvement and community. Physical education program must start at early age, e.g. development programs that are competitive. Self-esteem and partner organization, e.g. coaches must be educated so that they know how to deal with the younger ages, more especially girls. Engage religious sectors for support in women's sport participation. Collaboration between sport and education must be revisited. Official time for sport in schools and employ school-based coaches in school. Moving to the second point, that is eradicate gender-based violence in and through sport. Male coaches must be eliminated in female sport. Victims must be protected and offenders must be given harsh punishment. Strong code of conduct. Promotion of gender equality. Moving to the last and the third point. Eliminate gender stereotypes in the media coverage in sport. Media space to be given to females. Municipal infrastructures grant for more provision of sport facilities. Accessibilities of municipal infrastructure must be monitored closely. Promote female leadership position in the media as a tool for positive change. Encourage the media freedom and promotion of gender equality. All sporting codes must be advertised in the media, e.g. television. There should be a political call. Involve everybody, learners with disability, inclusivity. Encourage the media to pursue policies to promote equality between men and women and to combat gender stereotypes. Prices in women and men payment must be revisited and put into consideration. Thank you.
We are now left with. Thank you, Violet. We are now left with two districts, Sarah Patman and Nelson Mandela. And now over to you, Sarah Patman.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Gail. Yeah, screen. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Galen Andrews, and I'm from the Sarah Bartman district down in Makanda. The question we had to do was question number 4. What interventions, commissions, committees, fora have previously been implemented or are currently being implemented in your province to address women in sport issues? What we have discussed is that interventions have been done, but they haven't been enough. In our district, the DISRAC has done a lot for us in the community, but there seems to be a gap between DISRAC, district, and provincial. In our district, DISRAC, we have many sporting committees and have implemented sporting structures, but are not being recognized provincially. Provincial have their own committees. Not many issues have been addressed on women and sports issues in our province that we are currently aware of. We would like more training workshops purely for women to develop them in coaching, managing, and leadership roles in all sporting codes. And just to conclude, we have recognized that the failing point in our society is that we as women are not being recognized in sport or seen as leaders in the sporting industry. Thank you.
Brief and to the point. It's good to hear that women are still keen to be trained, because if you train a woman and you give him all the skills, watch out. Nothing can stop that woman to ensure that girls and women are participating in physical activity and sport. Thank you very much, Sarah Patman. Now, Nelson Mandela.
Good day, everyone. My name is Dr. Sakula from the Nelson Mandela District. Our question for the day was the interventions, commissions, and committees that have been previously implemented. As Nelson Mandela, we feel that this was basically a question, and our answer was that there's none. We are saying there are no interventions, we are saying that there are no commissions, we are saying that there are no forums and committees. Reason being that the ones that are there, they are not functional at all. So they are not serving the purpose. And we also feel that even though the government is also there, we feel as if the government is not doing enough. We've got so many points that we've discussed. One of the points was the alignment of the constitutions, starting from national level, if they are linked with the provincial constitutions of the federations. And even though we were looking at that as well, we felt as if they are not linked to each other, they are not talking to each other. Hence, you'll find that in boxing, you'll get a sports desk for women, you'll get in handball, and you can never get in women's rugby. You won't get it in football as well. And we also looked at the prioritization of women in sport, largely also by the government. We felt as if even though the government is there, it is doing nothing in terms of finances. The budget that we're getting as federations in the male dominant sport, what is supposed to come to us, it's not coming. And we do not know what is happening. So we are saying we need to have these interventions. How? We need to make sure that those policies at national level are linked with the ones at provincial, coming down to district level. Also, the government must prioritize again the women in sport programs. And also we are saying that we need to revive our sports council, those desks, Zabafaz, so that the commissions that we are supposed to be having at district level can be vibrant as well, and the provincial structures to take the lead. We also spoke about the contribution that is being paid by the NGOs and the NPOs that is also overlooked by the government, because those NPOs and the NGOs are playing a huge role in our societies when it comes to women in sport. And we are saying that if social development can be able to give those NPOs a grant to be able to sustain their programs, why can't it be the same in sport as well? Also, we have also touched based on the institutions, universities now. We are saying that also they must give equal opportunities to female athletes. What they are doing for the boys out there, they should also do for the girls. That will also serve as an intervention in our sport fraternity. And also we're pleading with the government to enforce the policies that will address all the issues that we have as women. Minister, again, we've heard her talking about the compensation of the athletes at national level. It is a big issue. It's not only a big issue on national level, it is, of course, even at provincial level. Thank you very much.
That utilizes sport and use sport as a tool for social change. And those NGOs have got a lot of children that participate and learn skills. And I think it is important that really the NGOs that really do the grassroots level work need to be recognized. And you'll discover that those NGOs, their working force is all women and girls. If there's a man, maybe men are few. So I'm happy that we have raised that issue. But then the challenge is that this paper talks about commissions, committees, interventions. And it seems as if here in our province, people are saying there's none. So this then needs a lot of attention and a lot of maybe work on ensuring that in the sport policy, these things that are mentioned can be practical. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share. There was a group here which is sometimes not behaving that well. There's a provincial group here. If you see in the program, there was supposed to be a presentation on policy highlights. Because we couldn't get people to cover that session. So the head office staff that was here, we asked them if they could just maybe highlight, give us policy highlights that reflect on this document. So I will ask Nozuko Tamoy to just briefly highlight, give us some policy highlights that they've identified in the document. Over to you, Nozuko.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Mine is just simple to say whatever I've just picked up as just to comply with the policy highlights. As Togo has just introduced me, I'm not going to say a thing, but to say with us, we've just checked the policy that was there, and on point 1.4, in fact in 1.4 and 1.5, there are just things that we've just picked up to say, when we're talking about women, as Togo has just said, we also need to talk about girls. Or say, if we're saying women, we must say young women and women. Then it will make sure that we'll just refer or will be using, we will utilize everyone who is female at our places. Yeah, that is, we want to say basically why we're putting young girls. We want to ensure that sport is being developed. Sport is a focus point on the foundations phase or early childhood phase, so that we build up skills that will enable us to take off as we are looking at the long-term participation development plan. We make sure that we develop these skills that are being nurtured now on the next level or grown up to a level of schools, and then it goes up to the clubs and whatever, so that we can have people that we say they are in the elite group. When we looked at the outcomes, or say goals at an outcome stage or level, we want to say we need, as women, as we craft the policy, to unpack stuff so that we really know what is it that is contained there. Why are we saying that? And so, we also want to say, if we're saying women in sports system strengthened, what is that? So that everybody can contribute and we make a policy here to our policy that talks to us all. We are saying also there's nothing perhaps that has been said by rural township sport that will enable participants or kids to have access in opportunities that are there in clubs or around clubs. And also there was the emphasis that we also think it needs to also to be elaborated in this meeting, to say capacitation. If we are talking of the long-term participation, therefore it means women, especially that we're talking about, needs to be capacitated in all levels. When I say in all levels, all codes, women should participate, and we should ensure that when we capacitating people or training people, women are there in high percentage. And when I say into a higher level, I mean women, we should see women umpiring with national, international level. We should see women umpiring in boxing with national level. We should see women in cricket. These are the only codes that I feel I must highlight, because you know there's less women if they are there with national, few women in the boxing fraternity. And therefore, when we also talking about capacitation, that we should elaborate what is it? We should know what is it that we are having now. What is it that we are having now at the moment? How many women are coaches into To what level are these women coaches? Because we need to see them in the higher levels, as I've said. If we're talking administrators or administration, how many at the moment, and then where are we going? If we're talking about officiating, we need to have people or women that are officiating in higher levels. You talk leadership. People should be exposed in the leadership fraternity. We also think that it is also important that when we scrutinize or when we're looking or collecting this information, it should create equal opportunities. When we say equal opportunities of what? Equal opportunities in what? Sport and recreation in what? Basically, as I've said, that we're talking about long term. Long term, basically, we need women that are there, and women who are always there, women in the basic foundation, which is the very one that is with a bigger chunk, where we need women to participate. That is recreation, bottom line. That's recreation in the pyramid. So most of the women should be involved. You're talking people working in the hub. These should be women. You're talking people, sport coordinators. These should be women and working there in the hubs, in the field, developing other women. And they can take care of other women. The girls now, they've got a passionate, women have got a passionate of the younger girls. They can also protect them, because you can see the violence, you can see the topic that is the gender-based violence. It's because we open up for men taking care of women at that younger age. You can think of the girls that are there carelessly, and therefore it means that we need women who can protect them. We need women who can take care of them in that level. Lastly, I would be saying we need to unpack 2.18, which talks about this early childhood, and also to emphasize fundamental programs in the fundamental stage by the fundamental people of South Africa, so that at the long run we can have people that are participating, people that are being monitored, people that can go to elite level with assurance. Because when you go to elite, you are a person that you can train yourself. We are independent now. You can do your own training. You can make sure that you can make it winning. You train yourself to win. You train yourself to participate. So we need those independent people, so that at the end of the day, we see people getting to the higher levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moy. Andik. Now, we are going to, I hope that people, I am saying this again, if all participants that have been participating here did not have enough chance to go through the document, you still have time to go through the document and give feedback before your district types and sends things to NOXI. Because you can only own a policy when you have given input and feedback on it. If you do not do that, then you are not supposed to be in these sessions. So it's very, very crucial that you look at the document, you look at what is not clear, you look at where you think women need to get started at. Like, you always talk about these pyramids. And these pyramids, they start with the grassroots level. And the grassroots level is where everybody, whether she's disabled, whether she is able, can be given a platform to participate. And I think it's important that we ensure that this policy then focuses there. You will see in other countries that there is a good collaboration between schools and federations. You will see that schools, their leagues are coordinated by federations because the schools are linked to the clubs. And we can do that. And there are women in this country, in this province, or in this country that can take the lead. There are women who are already having leadership skills. There might be few that are having capacity coaching skills. But when the platform is created, those women can change everything. So we hope that this policy will enable us women to have a voice, will enable us women to be recognized. Because we're from there, whereby you will never get a post because you are good at working with children. So when's the one? Whereas we are trying to bring up the kids so that the kids can, because sport can make a child to be confident. Physical activity can make a child who may be in the classroom, they thought was stupid or was not clever enough. So this is very interesting. Let me thank you, Dr. for seeing it fit to make me the program director. I'm passionate about participation of girls and women in sport. And I think this has long been overdue. And I thought about it, and you create an opportunity for a woman and check if that woman gets an opportunity where that woman won't fly. But then if you push us away, then how can you know what skills do we have? So if those words were few, now I'm going to hand over to the HOD to give us a summary of this day. Over to you, HOD.
Thank you so much, Program Director. Mine is to try and consolidate and maybe give a way forward in terms of the process, not anything else. Colleagues, you would have been, as you were part of the process, you did hear the chair telling us that maybe we should have started with the issues around the policy highlights, which were already given. The speaker, just before the chairperson, indicated what were the issues that the policy was trying to highlight. So that part, and they've given inputs to that process. So there are inputs that are coming from the policy highlights that we need to ensure that when we do comments, we include them. There were there were sessions that that the districts had gone to look at how best to make the policy talk to the issues that they've raised. They've raised a number of issues. Colleagues, you did hear them making the report backs, especially around the issues of discrimination and barriers. And they also included what actions can we undertake to ensure that those matters are dealt with. So those would be part of the comments as well that we will consolidate as part of as the province, as part of the province's submission to this national process of commenting on this policy. And there were other areas that were maybe not highlighted in this process. We have received some comments, a number of comments from the other stakeholders that were given the policy. Remember, before we had this session, the policy was sent to a number of stakeholders so that at least they could be given the opportunity to make their comments, even if they were not part of this process. So that process was done, and we have received some comments from a few stakeholders regarding the policy. So we would also include those comments that have been received. So we will consolidate all these comments from all these platforms that I've kind of alluded to, including this one of today, obviously. And then we will ensure that as a department, we take into account the draft policy, and then per session we would try and where we have comments, we would include those comments in relation to how the policy is currently structured. So we would make comments on issues around the status quo, the principles, those actions and proposed interventions that are already included in the policy, the roles and responsibilities, and a few sessions and a few elements within the draft policy as well, taking into account all the comments that people have made. And we will be submitting, and as the chair had indicated, that those who feel that their districts, maybe they still want to make more comments, they will be given the opportunity to do so in this process. So we are anticipating that this process of trying to consolidate everything, and as a part of the submission to the department, we will be making that submission to the national department probably by the end of the end of October, so that we would have given everyone the opportunity to make the comments, so that we make that deadline, that we are making a commitment that by that period would be able to send our comments as the province to the department, which would be the end of October, and then so that our process can be part of the submission that other provinces would have already made. So that would be for me to conclude by saying that, Chair, that this is the process that as the province would be taking forward as part of this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, HOD. And now we're fortunate in this province that the HOD is a female, the MEC is a female. So you'll finish the sentence that I was supposed to say. Over to you, MEC.
Thank you very much, Ms. Togo. Good afternoon, Program Director. The Deputy Minister who's still with us in this conference, government officials in all levels, the leadership of sport at various levels, organizers of this conference, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, there are gentlemen in our midst. I saw in OR Tambo that there was a male there, and I saw we are here in Buffalo City, the main boardroom, having, I think, about 3 males. So yeah, I am correct to say, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon once again. We are coming towards the end of the very robust Women in Sport conference, and the deliberations were meant to afford women an opportunity to reflect as well as shape their future in as far as sport and recreation are concerned. The deliberations, yabona ke kutshona ilanga ngoku. And in the afternoon, the data, English data, gets depleted. Ke ndabona naphaya OR Tambo ngasekhaya kunyuswa udonga, umuntu ehleli phansi, ndaqonda ke kuyahlangana ukufana yeza sisithobo. The deliberations have indeed confirmed that there is a lot that we need to do as women, and we ought to stand together and confront the challenges that we still have in the sport recreation terrain in our country. Our province is known to have made an enormous contribution in terms of transformation, particularly with respect to sport. All the conferences or congresses that were held in the early days during apartheid were held here in East London in a bid to take stock of what was going on at the time and craft a way forward on how we can, as Black people in particular, change the landscape of sport in South Africa. So these deliberations today remind me of the words of a phenomenal woman, Cheryl Roberts, who was addressing in those days, and I quote, "It was a committed journey which saw the sportswomen give their heart and soul with no financial gain and assistance and no material rewards to the consolidation of non-racial sport and creation of opportunities for disadvantaged, oppressed girls and women. For every woman who participated in some level of sport, whether a spectator, a team maker, a club player, a wife or a girlfriend, many more girls and women were attracted to sport because of the other women who were already there." And close quote. This quotation was taken from an address during a non-racial sport conference in South Africa. It's written in a book called Struggle for Non-Racial Sport in South Africa, From Apartheid to Sport Unity. So this clearly indicates that since the early time in a society, women have had been given an inferior role to play in sport. There wasn't much that we were recognized for, even as players, even as mothers to those who would have made it in sport. We still were taken for granted and were not given serious roles. But a lot of women joined sport because women in their nature have a way of attracting other women. So even to date, we would like to have such an influence, women who pull other women into the sport and recreation arena. The above statement is a confirmation that women are naturally talented with mobilization skills. And as such, amadoda angeke akwazi ukwenza nto ngaphandle kwethu. And that's a reality even in teams or structures where you find dominance of men. There is, whether at the background or wherever, involvement of women. So it is clear, and the sooner men understand that they can't do all without us, kuzawuba better. The call to us to develop the policy is therefore meant to strengthen the power we already have to discharge these duties that are before us. The province of the Eastern Cape, Honorable Deputy Minister, is truly appreciative of the fact that we have been given 2 opportunities to input into this national policy, and therefore we commit that once finalized and approved by the Minister, we will make sure that all our plans are aligned to the policy itself. The challenges confronting us as women are really systematic and have been with us for the longest time. But be that as it may, we have inherited an unequal legacy of sport, and it permeates across various sectors of the society. And the most prominent areas we ought to look into when we talk of transformation should not only be race, it should also be gender, race, class, disability. And in one of the commissions, I think it was in Chrisan, if I'm not making a mistake, there was an emphasis, or it was Buffalo City, there was an emphasis on the challenges faced by women, particularly who are disabled, that are involving themselves in sport. We ought to focus on rural, peri-urban and urban divide in order to be able to conquer the representation of women in sport. I am mentioning the above because in any analysis made on each of them, you would find women being the hardest hit. This policy will therefore strengthen our perspective, how we think about sport and the involvement of women in general, our planning and the implementation of programs that will take the status of women in sport to the next level. Sister Togo, as a member of the Executive Council and a gender activist myself, I hereby, on behalf of the department in the Eastern Cape, commit to the following: that going forward in all departmental programs, women inclusion will be a non-negotiable, and as such, the special programs unit will report monthly on our performance. Those who have been lucky enough to have found financial assistance in the department would agree with me or know exactly that it is non-negotiable that when you have received financial assistance, you have to make sure that women representation is there. And not only women representation, we make it compulsory that when there are prizes, whatever prize is given to a man, it must be same as what would have been given to a female winner. These include your historical male-dominated sports like rugby, football, and boxing. So in the province of the Eastern Cape, it's a no-no for you to get financial assistance, and then when you are giving out prizes, you then give men more than women. We also commit that women activities shall not only be in August, but they will be throughout the year, with August being the month for the best of the best in terms of showcasing skills, and that we will include celebration and recognition of success by women in all our programs. For federations to qualify for departmental funding, a clear women development program shall have to be presented. The Sport Confederation shall be the champion to this call. We will monitor that responsibility that we are giving to the Sports Confederation. In all our international relations partnerships, women programs shall take center stage. And I think, Deputy Minister, I think it is at this point that I should indicate that year in, year out, albeit that this year we couldn't do it because of COVID-19 and the restrictions in traveling, we usually have a delegation from Germany that conducts women conferences or trainings for women in sport, an accreditation course. And I have seen women graduating from that course and finding themselves in the society and making a greater contribution. So we want to once again commit that through those relationships with Germany and other partners across the world, we will continue to develop athletes, coaches, as well as sport administrators that are females. The last part, Honorable Deputy Minister and all the participants, that we as this team that was responsible for head office, and I must say I apologize for the earlier glitches. You know, abantu base head office bathanda uzenza ngathi bangcono. They were talking from time to time earlier on, so I want to apologize profusely on their behalf. We were trying to master this thing ye technology. Mhlambe ne-COVID might iphele ukwenzela into yobana sizobonana ubuso ngobuso nabantu singathethi ngokwe-TV. When we were discussing here, one of the points that was raised was that as a department, there are schools, because our vision is that we want to be visible from the grassroots level by ensuring that we and strengthen sport, school sport, and participation of young children in schools in terms of sport be made compulsory in those schools. So one of the things that we were discussing and muting around is that we have seen that we have about 6 school-focused sport. Yona lonto andikade ndiyichane tu, but zezi zikolo siqinisekisa into yobana kudlalwa imidlalo kuze that we are assisting as a department. Ndizothi ndiyichane wena seyingunyaka ndimane ndiyizama uba ndithanga ngu-school focus sport ndithi ngu-focus school sport, kodwa yinto enjalo, it goes along those lines. What we have identified is that majority of those would be traditionally in the schools that cater for boys. And that is an anomaly, because if we are saying we want to develop young girls or young women into sport, that is a level that we should be starting at. And I can assure you, Honorable Deputy Minister, that going forward, we are going to change focus. Even in the schools wherein you find that there are boys and girls, it's a mixture of schools like your Kanyisa and Mtata, we would ensure that there is a maximum participation of girls in those academies. Deputy Minister, the Eastern Cape commits to support the policy and its implementation thereof. Thank you very much.
I think now we will hand over to the Deputy Minister, Susno Kawabaf, to close this session for us. Thank you very much, MEC.
That has got her hand up. I don't know if we should close her off. Please allow her. I don't think she will take more than 2 minutes. The other reason why I probably want you to allow her, she's the person responsible for this policy at National Department. So maybe she just wants to say something before I close. If you can allow me, can I allow her to talk? Sis Toko, Program Director, can I allow Sis Ruth to speak?
Yes, please.
Before I close.
Yes.
Thank you very much. 1 minute, Sis Ruth.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chair. Honorable DM, Honorable MEC, HOD, all protocol observed, and colleagues, good afternoon. I won't really take 1 minute. I've got only one request. I hear you saying that you're going to give us the input by the end of October. How about maybe mid-October? I'm saying this because we're going to consolidate all the inputs. And remember, here we're looking for the baseline data. And for us to come up with the accurate baseline data, we are busy using the indicators, revise them, so that they can inform us in a good way. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your valuable inputs. Thanks.
Sis Toko, for allowing Sis Ruth to speak. She is the person behind the drafting of the policy at national level. So I thought it's important that she says what she wanted to say. Thank you very much. MEC Fezeka Nkomonye and your team, I really want to appreciate the commitment that has been shown by the province, in the deliberations of this policy today. The districts, when they were reporting back, I couldn't believe the amount and the quality of the report back. I listened to all of them, just to demonstrate that I had listened. And there are areas that I just want to pick up. For instance, in Amatole, when Yona was presenting, I think Sis Ruth, that 60-40 leadership is critical. That is something that we should really look at as we continue with this policy development. I love what Nandipa said in Alfred Nzo when she spoke about the issue of building structures. I hope the province will look at this thing that Kumza has commented on from BCM about the issue of the women rabbi that are not professional, and that the interaction between the province and ourselves look at that and actually do report backs to the districts on the status of the women in Rabbi. I know that Ntombise from the national office is here, and I hope she had listened to Sisnom Vuyo from Evukoan about the lack of sport facilities for girls in Vukoan. And I would love Ntombise to come back to me and tell me, when are we going to Vukoan with the team to make sure that that area is dealt with. I know that BCM is a metro. You're going to tell me that MIG doesn't work there. I'm not going to listen to that. Can we deal with the Vukoambe issue? very, very quickly. Christiane Joyce there speaks about what menstruation does in terms of the confidence on the girls. And that then leads to the girls not getting to be selected. And yet here, we are trying to develop a women in sport policy. So that area needs to be looked at very sharply. I love that the districts understand that there is lack of, particularly Job Gabi, who has raised this. I want to commend Gail from Sarah Batman when she spoke about the lack of alignment between district and province. And that's something that we should look at very quickly, because when we speak district development model, that's exactly what we should be correcting, the issue of the alignment between the districts and the province. Nelson Mandela, MEC, says there is no intervention at all in that part of the province. I would love to get that update from that area, so that probably because of the lack of interaction with the province, some people might have felt that there is no intervention and all. So I would love to understand what exactly is going on in Nelson Mandela. But just to say, thank you very much. The policy itself is work in progress. So you are part of the people now that are making sure that you contribute to it. We still have to interact with federations. We are finishing now with provinces, and we still have to interact with the federations so that everybody has got the opportunity to comment and interact with this policy at the beginning, so that by the time it gets to be, coming out, people already understand what the content of this policy is. So I love that. Sis Ruth has already spoken about the issue of the baseline, which is exactly what we're trying to make sure that now, and I know that there was somebody else who spoke about the baseline, very critical when you are dealing with policy formulation. Now you are assisting us to make sure that we've got a baseline to move from. So thank you very much. I couldn't understand, and at some point, Ms. Ruth, you will have to educate me, because there was a comment that said we must unpack 2.18. So please, that 2.18, that needs to be unpacked. Can it be unpacked properly? So that everybody who has said something here, every issue of theirs must be able to be dealt with. The collaboration between the schools and the federation, I think Sis Togo also spoke about this, because she says in other countries, that's how it's done. Let's look at that. And when we interact with federations, that point is lifted up. Thank you very much, because the program director herself spoke about her passion about women and girls empowerment. And the province has done very well, despite the challenges of COVID-19 and the fact that we are meeting virtually, but you have outdone yourself. Don't worry about the glitches at the beginning. It's part of growing up, MEC. And I know that the HOD is very stressed about that. Don't worry, Sbongile. The important thing is that the workshop has gone very well. You have managed to have all the districts participating. And you have also made sure that you are actually outsmarting the other provinces that have come before you. So we will see tomorrow if Free State will try and outsmart you. But you've done very well. Thank you very, very much. We as the team from the national office, we are very happy of the progress that we have done. And thank you for hosting us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm done.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Thank you very much, MEC. Thank you very much, HOD, and also Head Office staff and all districts. This has been a good day. Let's go back home and then continue doing the good work. Thank you.